Excellent.
Good. Now we're in.
Okay. Anyone arrive with a question? A difficulty? Everything's smooth.
Relatively.
Relatively, okay. Well, we'll see.
Yes.
So, we'll look at some more things for movement 3 and see if we can complicate things a little bit. So another element that we want to include in what we're doing in Gods is opening and closing. And this is something that some of you will have learned in Marriage of Heaven and Earth or some other training in energy arts. Some of you have not. And so you're just going to have to do your best to get the basic of this for now. There are 2 levels of opening and closing. The first is the vertical opening and closing of the joints in the body. And that's where we begin and where those of you who haven't done an opening and closing training would focus. And just so you understand what we're talking about how a single joint, every joint, but a single joint of the body can close and open without any other movement going on. So this is hard to see, I think, on Zoom, but I'm not bending my knees, but I think maybe you can see that I'm sinking slightly and rising slightly. And that's all coming from closing and opening the joint, the qua vertically. It's a little easier to see perhaps in the wrist, which has a little bit larger motion when it opens and closes. So we're going to work just with that sense of that vertical opening and closing of the joints. It often goes with, certainly at the qua, folding and squatting. Those are opening and closing movements. But within that, the joint, each joint itself is actually moving to open and close. The second, or really the second level of opening and closing, we're not going to attempt to teach in this class. That really takes a separate teaching. It really is working with the energetic spherical opening and closing of the energy gates and cavities of the body. So every joint has an energy gate, and there are others in addition to that, and then the cavities are even in addition to the joints themselves, but we're not going to actually go into that in this particular training. It really takes a whole separate training. We usually spend about a year in teaching opening and closing. So it's not not something we can do in addition to what we're doing here. So one of the ways that you might open and close is the simple movement of the arms. So when your arms are rotating out, they're opening. Talking about the movement in 3, of course. And when they're coming in, they're closing. So that movement of the arms is an example of just the arms doing it. So when you flow around your circle and you're starting at 12, perhaps the difficulty, well, not with the arms. When we come up to 12, we have closed the arms. And then as you go to 3, you're going to open the arms. And as you go to 6, you're going to close the arms. And at 9, you're going to open. And at 12, you're actually going to close again. So I'd like you to just get up and play with that. You're doing the circle of your torso, your dantian, but just focus on the arms. Don't worry about the legs and the quad, particularly at the moment. Obviously, they're moving, but so really try to find that circle with your dantian. You don't want to go just back and forth on a flat plane. And the circle can be really small, but it needs to be there. So, Nick, you need to really remember that as you come around to 3 and 9, you really want to rotate the arms so that the palms are all the way forward. And that's where the elbows move out a little bit. And then as you turn them in at 12 and 6, the elbows come in. Okay. Slow down, Bill. So Nick, at 12 o'clock, you want to have the palms facing each other. Okay. Okay, pause a minute. So remember that another piece of the movement of the arms is that they are bending and straightening. So they are bent at 12 o'clock. At 3, they straighten. They're not doing this, but they are straightening out a little. And then at 6, they're bending a little and straightening a little and bending a little. So that needs to be a part of it, because that's part of opening and closing, is that bending and straightening movement. Okay. If I have a question in there.
David, I have a question.
Yep.
When we're going from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock and the arms are coming out just a little,
Yep.
is that assisted by us leaning into that?
Yes, we talked a little bit about that last time, I think. So I'm going to turn on a slight angle so you can perhaps see me a little bit better. Yes, you are, but we're not. I actually was not focusing on that at the moment. We were just focusing on the arms.
Okay,
Next thing is to focus on the quad and the legs. But
okay,
you're absolutely correct that when you get to here, you are leaning at a bit of an angle.
okay,
That will grow as you're able to move your weight to 100% on that forward foot. Any other questions? Okay. So you can't do that, David. So we start with the arms because they're the easier, but they're not the most important. As you go around from 12, you have to notice that the quad must be stretched. And when you come up to, there are two things about 12 o'clock. I realize I have to say, I have to show you this. So when we are making the transition from movement 2 to movement 3, as you come up to the completion of that transition, you have opened the quad. You have to, as you begin to rotate to 3 o'clock, close the quad a little and then open the quad. And then close the quad and open the quad. Now, the difficult one is going from 9 to 12 because you have to close your quad. It has to, rather than stretching open, it's stretching closed or down. So finding how you can do that, really, it's not something I can particularly tell you how to do it. You have to feel it in your body because you have to feel the quad closing. It's not, so the difference, perhaps, if you are open here and I open the quad, that's what I've done. If I open here and I close the quad, that's what I've done. I don't know if you can see that, but you have to feel it in the joint.
Would you go through it again? Just, open, close as you go. around.
Yep, sure. So you have two different things happening at 12. One is in the transition where you've opened, close, open, close, open, close, open.
Okay.
Yep. So try that. So indeed, keep the arms going, but focus on the qua. Try to see if you can feel that opening and closing there. Okay, so pause a moment. So we've been working on all of these pieces that we've been working on. We've been trying to find that smooth circle in both directions with the dantian. But now you have to put a little extra emphasis into the opening at 3 and 9. So what I'm meaning by that is that, yes, you're starting to open, but there is a straightening of the legs, an opening of the joints of the leg, ankle, knee, and qua at that point. And then a closing, and you're beginning to open, but there is an extra at those points. Right?
I've been seeing you do it, but.
Yeah. Well, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So try it. Okay, so I think one thing I might say, Nick, is keep being aware of making that circle with your dantian. It's a little hard to see for sure there, although I like being able to see more of your body today. That's good. But making sure that you're getting the circle and not letting it flatten out at places.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to really be there. Um, Do you have a question, Bill?
Yeah, I do. When I'm going to 6 and 9, and trying to feel an open qua stretching, I'm feeling sort of the left side is folding closed, but you're saying opening and folding closed are two different things, right?
Yes.
So that's where I'm having problems is I can definitely feel open when I'm going to my left on the right side, but not so much on the left side. So that's what
Yep.
I'm thinking about.
So, and that, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it feels very different in each side. And part of that is the position that you end up in. So when you get to here, your tendency is to close this down and just open the other side, this side. And what that will do is throw you off balance. So it is a little, it feels a little strange, perhaps, if you get that closing here, and then you feel both of them beginning to open, and then both open a little further. So the weighted leg is not going to feel its opening as large as the other one. There is a different sensation because your weight is on that leg and you've rotated and angled out at that point. So, but you do want to open both in this. Okay. Something to work on. Anybody have a question? Another question? Okay. So the central issue is that the qua is stretching down and stretching up. You're simply using the tissues of the qua to compress down and stretch up. It's just like your arm stretching out and in. So this is an essential point. So as you're doing movement 2, you really want to pay attention to the fact, excuse me, that your arms are connected to your internal organs. And then when you start doing the transition, keep them connected to the internal organs, like a bungee cord. As you begin movement 3, you want to keep that connection to your internal organs all the way through. As you begin your circle to 3, and you're having that slight closing of your qua, and then as you open at 3, open your qua and keep that connection to the internal organs. When you go down to 6, you're closing, but you want to keep the connection to your organs, and right on around the whole circle. So just try that. I don't know to what extent you are beginning to feel that connection, but remember that one of the really essential points in reference to that is, where are the elbows? So it's really important in this that as you go through these circles, that you're not allowing the elbows to collapse in this way going in and out like this. They're going out and in like this. So there is a motion, but you're keeping that connection that goes from the elbow, certainly through the shoulder, scapula, and spine, but also it goes through the shoulder and the armpit directly into the organs. So you're trying to find that connection to the organs and keep it all the way through so that you feel something happening in your organs as you're doing this. Okay. So just, again, try a little bit, go in both directions. Do like, I don't care, do an even number. Do 6 or 8 in one direction and then do the other direction, okay?
David, is the opening of the claw on the weighted leg, should that, how far open can that get? It doesn't, I mean, it can't be as open as the unweighted leg. can it?
That's right, because I was just, that's what I was describing.
Yeah, okay.
So they feel different,
Yeah,
but they should both feel open.
okay. Is there a degree to which we're aiming, I mean, a goal for the openness on the weighted leg?
Sure, fully open.
Okay.
But it will
It's a-
feel different because of the position and the weight.
It's a kind of new sensation.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think we've, certainly with you, ever talked about this before. Okay, one thing I might mention that, well, first I want to say, Nick, much better. Better circle. I'm beginning to see you actually beginning to find your center and lengthen out and bend to the side. That's a definite improvement. One thing I'm seeing is, turn it sideways. After going here in and coming down, and the arms not moving very much, they're rotating, but they're not bending. They're simply going down. They don't go down. They certainly, the arms do not do this. That's one of the things to really be aware of. It's the body making the circle, not the arms are simply carried along. So you have to find a bend at the top and a bend at the bottom. And then it's at those side points where you have the extension.
Yeah.
It's not down here. Yeah,
Okay.
good. Anybody have a question there? And does anybody have any sense of a connection to your organs?
I think so.
Uh-huh. Good.
And the board on the eye movement helps in that regard too.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you haven't read that short read that I sent out before,
The eyes, right, yep.
good. Anybody have a question? Okay. Sure.
I got a quick question.
Sure.
When you say the connections to the organs, I assume you mean all of them? I'm getting more of a
Pictures.
connection to my liver than I think the kidneys. So is that a sign you're doing too much, or you just
No,
haven't like established connections
a
with the
si-
organs yet?
It's a sign we haven't talked about that yet.
Very good. More to come. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Always more to come.
Just a note, as you're doing your circle, to be careful about making sure that the elbows are always trying to connect to the earth. So in other words, it's kind of easy when you go to those side positions to let the elbows point out. So they don't. You want to, for the most part, stay at 45 degrees or less. So keeping the elbows down. They're moving, but they're not going out here. For those of you who have been introduced to the spinal movement, bend the bow and shoot the arrow, that will be a part of this, and it is continuously going on in God's, but we're not going there at the moment. We'll come to that later. So don't feel that you have to try to put that in at the moment. So when you breathe, and I do hope you're all breathing, you always want to breathe with your liver and your spleen together in this. But if you are trying to get your hands to go more to the right at 3 o'clock, you would breathe into your liver a little more strongly. And if you're trying to get your hands to move towards the left, 9 o'clock, you would try to breathe a little more strongly into your spleen. But the difference is not like 90% to 10%, but more like really 65-45. So it's a small difference, but you would feel one more than the other as you go to the side. Now, the thing about this movement and relation to breathing with those organs in particular, and we are thinking, to answer your question, Adam, really, we are thinking in movement 3 particularly about liver and spleen, but the movement does affect all the organs. It's not only liver and spleen,
Okay.
but our focus is liver and spleen. So there are two ways to do movement 3 in reference to breathing into liver and spleen. And we'll look at the first one. The second is described in the notes that I will send you, but you should not try to do that until the first method is smooth and comfortable in the movement. So the first method principally will cleanse and strengthen your liver and spleen. And this is particularly helpful if you should have any kind of weakness in liver or spleen. So what we're endeavoring to be aware of here is that as you go to 3 o'clock, that you are actually inhaling, opening, and breathing energy into your liver. And then as you go to 6, you're exhaling, and indeed you can think of it as contracting the liver and squeezing used or stagnant energy out of it. And then as you go to 9 o'clock, you're breathing fresh energy into the spleen. And then squeezing that out. So is everybody clear about where your spleen is? Anybody not know where your spleen is? Okay, good. So this is the first stage of this. And it's a really important one because those are two extremely important organs in our body. We have a lot of important organs, but these are two of that are particularly important. And one of the things that this movement 3 does is indeed strengthen liver and spleen. So by getting the energy to move freely, to fill them with fresh energy. So you really need to have that focus eventually when you're able to bring your mind to it in doing this. So I'd like you to get up and play with this a little bit. So again, start down with that transition. So you're making sure you have that connection to the organs. And then closing and then opening, inhaling into the liver. And then exhaling, cleansing the liver. Inhale into the spleen, fresh energy. And then exhale, cleansing the spleen. But feel the liver expand and contract, and the spleen expand and contract. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Go to the other side. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Expand the liver. Expand the spleen. Okay. Relax. Questions about that? So now you have a breathing pattern. And hopefully that will also help you to slow down the movements a little bit. Tendency is to go too fast in movement 3. Okay,
David, I do have a question.
sure.
Can you hear me? Yes, I think in doing the breathing, I could definitely connect to the organs. But earlier you had talked about connecting through the armpit. And I'm not feeling that at all. Just not. So could you say more about that? Or maybe it's in the writing, but
No, it isn't. I don't think in these notes. Actually, through the really through the connection of the cavities and the energy gates is where that functions. And it's really interesting that gate deep in the armpit actually is the one that opens on that in that particular way into the organs. Your breath also connects very directly to it and is a little bit easier to work with.
Yeah.
But it just that's one that I don't think we've actually focused on before. And I sort of was just mentioning it in passing, but good thing to have sort of in the back of your mind that that's also a connection.
Okay.
And that's part of not letting the elbows collapse, keep the armpits open, but keeping that movement of the elbows going, because that stimulates, not only is it part of the connection through the shoulder and the acromioclavicular to the scapula and the spine, but it's also what helps to open and close that gate in the armpit that connects to the organs.
Okay.
Other questions?
So that breathing that you just showed us is the opposite in terms of the fold and squat than we're doing in 1 and 2. Is that right?
Nope, it's absolutely, oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yes, it is opposite.
Yeah. So that's just an observation, I guess, not a question.
No, but that's a good one so that there isn't confusion there. Absolutely. And it may not be the only one as we go along. But at the moment,
But I was kind of in my mind saying, well, are you going to reverse the breathing everywhere? You know?
not everywhere, no.
Okay.
the thing that's somewhat helpful there is that you're in 2, you're inhaling to this point and then exhaling up. And that exhale continues as you close for a moment, and then you inhale into the opening that whichever one you go into. So that transition actually is not a difficult one in terms of the breath. Maybe just remembering to do it.
During that transition, when you're closing the qua, are you also closing the hands for that brief moment before you start opening?
Yep,
So everything is kind of synced up with that.
absolutely.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, certainly you're welcome to read the second method, but we're not going to go into it at the moment. We'll go into that later on.
Okay.
So we've worked on basic breathing, the mechanical action of the diaphragm, breathing into the belly. Now we want to think about breathing into the sides. And obviously this is directly related to our awareness about breathing into the liver and spleen, since while the liver indeed is not only on the side, but also into the middle of the torso, but the spleen is very much on the side. And so our focus is into the sides. And one of the benefits of side breathing is that it begins to work the liver on the side and the spleen on the other side to simply improve those internal organs by getting more blood and more chi to go in and out of them. But as well as that, your liver is extremely important. And very often, as people get older or they've had very bad accidents, their liver develops problems. That is even above and beyond if they happen to be alcoholics. So if you're trying to breathe with the right side of your right side, your object is to have your physical movements help your liver to breathe. The second thing is to have the breathing from your liver enable your arms to move to the side with strength and facility. You could just use your muscles, but you also can use the breathing in your liver, or have the breathing into your liver make someone come in towards you. That is, of course, a martial arts application. So this action wants to be connected to the motions of your hands and arms. From Western physiology, the liver has 212 basic biological functions. So improving the function of the liver is one of the benefits of breathing into it. But from the point of view of Chinese medicine, the liver is responsible for a number of things. One, it's responsible for our strength of intention in life, your ability to go and get things done, and not to lie around like a slug. The liver is also how you can rid yourself of depression. The liver is also very much responsible for circulating blood in your system, and it's also has a great deal to do, a great responsibility for blood pressure. Your spleen, which is on the left side, from the perspective of Chinese medicine, integrates the functions of all other internal organs. It's the coordinator. The metaphor for spleen is its element, Earth. It's like Earth, as it can hold every other element in it. You can build a pit in the earth and build a fire, and Earth can hold water or air, and Earth supports wood, and it can hold any of the elements within it. But from the point of view of meditation, Earth is also what allows you to develop a stable mind. So if you wish your mind to be more stable and have more stability, be more steady, then this is something that breathing with the spleen can help with. On the left side of your breathing with your spleen can also enable you to get your arms to move out and to draw in. Since you're doing this the whole time in movement 3, it could be helpful to think about that. So if you want to breathe from your spine, you really need to have your belly breathing functioning well. So inhaling and exhaling when your belly is breathing normally. When this breathing has a good rhythm, it won't stop your liver from moving. You could say it'll move it a little bit, and it does that to a certain degree. However, the negative statement is much more accurate. So let's play a little bit with side breathing here for a minute. Oh, not time. Good. So you can do this seated at the moment. So put your hands, however you're comfortable doing it, on your midriff, so below your ribs. And you're going to think about breathing with your diaphragm and down into your belly. But at the same time, you want to feel this area expanding as you inhale and contracting as you exhale. So just for a moment, play a little bit with that to see if you can feel that area moving with your breath. And this part of it is not too difficult. I think most of us probably can feel some movement there as you breathe. And the second part of this is to breathe into the ribs. So if you can move your hands up a little bit into your ribs, and now continue to breathe. And again, you should feel the ribs expand out a little bit as you inhale and contract in a little as you exhale. And then the third part of this, which is actually probably the more difficult part, and you probably can only feel one side at a time, is to put a hand right up into your armpit. And as you inhale, you should feel a slight movement in that area as well. And this will be the more difficult area to really connect and move. So obviously, this is something you can play at a lot of different times when you're just sitting around and need something to do for a moment. Practice breathing into your side until it becomes more comfortable and you can really feel the difference there. And one of the things I just wanted to mention before we stop, and those of you who've been students with me for a while know that my favorite word is practice, as it is. But I just want to mention that God's is a very complex practice. And you don't want to really let yourself fall behind because it's pretty hard to catch up. And so I encourage you to really try to develop a regular practice so that you can integrate all of these parts as we go along and have some sense of accomplishment with it. And obviously it is only by doing it that you will get the benefit from it. So any last minute thoughts or questions? Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Have fun. Practice, practice, practice.
Have a good week.
You too. Jess?
Oh, it's, just today, it's counterintuitive for me to be breathing in and to be extending and opening the claw at the same time.
Yep,
Yeah, I mean, they want to work in tandem.
you're not alone,
Yeah.
believe me. I think everybody going through this experiences that to
Yeah,
some
So
degree.
that's gonna be a real thing to practice.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep your mind on 2 or 3 things equally at the same time,
And I will just throw out,
maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah. I'll just throw out to you that one of the things that eventually you come to, and to begin with, you want to do things the way we're basically teaching it, but eventually it can be done either way. The breathing can completely reverse through the whole
Okay.
practice.
Yeah.
But
But this is, I mean, this is a good learning thing.
yeah,
At this point, yeah.
yeah. Good. Well, have a good week.
Okay, you too.
And now we'll get Joanne here.
Here I am.
Here you are.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't stand and do this, but I think that even sitting and doing it kind of helps me absorb the learning better. And some of that, I definitely feel some things without
Good.
standing. So that was, yeah.
So you probably haven't done much Wu style this week.
No, none. I mean, this happened on Thursday. But I could kind of feel a bit of a rubbing in my right knee. And then I had to walk up to meet somebody. You know, it was only not even 15 minutes, 12, 13 minutes, and then walk back. And then it started kind of swelling a bit. Yeah, by Friday, it was just painful. And then I had 3 days of very unusual in the last 2 years of having to go someplace each of those 3 days in the car. So I was in the car, which is really where it stiffens up, driving on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday Rick did the driving. But you know, I had 3 different events, so I was standing for them. So the chiropractor did some work on it. It felt better during the day yesterday. Last night, just before I went to bed, it was just felt like a knife in there, you know, like, oh God. So yeah, gonna have to figure out. I mean, I've been through problems with this knee. I fell on it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
but this is a bit, I think we're in a different category here. Feels worse than it had before, so.
The arthritis has come to fruition.
The knee is not getting any younger. That's right. The arthritis.
They
is-
don't, do they?
No, they don't. Right, right. Some of our minds can get younger, but the knees don't.
Well, we can keep them as young as possible, but
We try, yeah. I mean, anyway, so yeah.
so you probably haven't done much practice either.
No,
Spend the week
moved a
moving,
lot of
Adam, you're getting
furniture.
settled in, unpacking, trying to find things you need.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You know, it's been a whirlwind week, just moving stuff and unpacking and owning something means you have a lot of projects you didn't anticipate all of a
Yeah.
sudden. And
Tell me about it.
none of the
Not gonna be a
projects,
homeowner.
none of them you can just do. Is what I'm finding. It's like you start a project and you need something, so you gotta run out and get something. You get that, you bring it back. You find out you need something else to install the new thing. You gotta run. You know, it's like
Yeah,
all of a sudden I've
Yeah.
got 20 projects that are all in a state of half done, and you can't just like sit down and be like, all right, well, I'm just gonna fix the sink now. Like, you know. So that's a new experience because as a renter, I'm just like, well, that's not quite right, but now I'm gonna let them know and not care. You know,
Yeah.
like,
right, not my job, not
I
my
can't
job.
make sure
Yeah.
your shower's leaking. Do you want me to use the other shower? No, don't worry about it. Okay. Sure. But it's good. Yeah, settling in. You know,
Yeah.
but more practice to come now. I got all these empty rooms. I can really spread out. So
Oh, good.
Oh, nice. You're gonna have a Tai Chi room.
it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
Oh, my God.
And then on the first floor is a kitchen, a dining room, a living room. And then the basement is partially finished. The finished spot is totally finished with carpet, walls,
Oh my God.
sheetrock ceiling. So there's like a bonus family room on top of the living room. I'm gonna try and rent out one of the bedrooms.
Uh-huh.
If I do that, I'll end up paying basically what I was paying in rent before I had to move, which is great. And then use the 3rd bedroom as an office,
Yeah.
you know, kind of deal. And then the unfinished part of the basement is a lot like this. They sheetrocked the walls. They partially put a drop ceiling in, and then they I don't know what is this just paint?
Yeah.
Like painted the floor so it's not that kind of just like cement, dusty, dirty. You know,
Yeah.
it's very clean and stuff. So once I get the stuff in there organized, I'm gonna build, you know, like a whole home cycling gym, Tai Chi area, you know, where there's nice
Right.
space where you can spread out.
Yeah.
And then there's a stone patio outside too, so
Oh,
I can
wow.
practice out there in the nicer
Nice.
months. So there's plenty of space to,
Yeah, sounds like.
and there's no furniture, so I might as well do practice. Like there's nothing to sit on right now, so
You need furniture? Is that what you're telling us?
might as well get some practice in. No, I just, all the roommates I've had, it just happened that I had the kitchen stuff and they had the living room, you know, and every time you move somewhere new, it's that same arrangement. So like I never
Yeah.
got living room furniture or chairs or couch or, you know,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
Now you will.
yeah, try and run around this weekend, but you know,
Visiting IKEA, are you?
I'm trying to avoid it if I can. I'm trying to like look on Facebook and buy people's like real used furniture.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, just to kind of patch things over. Once I get the roommate in there, it should be pretty easy then if I wanted to go and get like,
Yeah.
better for, you know, Jordans or Raymore, Flanagan, you know, whatever. I think I wanted to like actual things worth keeping.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob's and IKEA won't last.
Yeah.
You know, when we moved in this house in 1980, we bought a couch that was a pull-out couch. It wasn't a Castro convertible, but another, you know, good brand. from somebody who was downsizing, a man who was moving into senior housing. We still have it,
Right. That's what
you
I'm
know, because it was made well.
there's a lot of stuff on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
I'm seeing tons of stuff, and it's, you know, good quality stuff. You know, Pottery Barn and Ethan Allen and all these like high-end furniture places
Yep.
that people are just selling for like a couple $100.
Yeah,
And they're
Right.
just like downsizing, or I bought a new one, or, you know, I don't know. Some people must have too
Yeah.
much money. You know, I bought this and I
That's-
don't feel like the color really matches the way I thought. So I'm selling it for like half price. You know, I bought it a month ago. I'm gonna buy a
Crazy.
different one. Like,
Crazy.
okay.
Yeah.
sure. I don't care what color, like, you know, it's something to sit
Yeah.
on with a cushion. Sure, I'll take it, you know, so. But I don't have a truck. That's the tough part. You know,
Yeah.
I gotta like rent a truck from Home Depot, go get stuff. So I
Uh,
was gonna go today, but it's crummy weather,
Raining, yeah.
yeah.
so probably not today. Anyways, long story short, been doing more of the gods than the
Yeah.
corn.
So, well, but maybe, I don't know.
Maybe I should get off because I can't physically get up and do anything.
You don't have to get off, but that's true.
Or I could watch. I could do it.
So, maybe just flow.
Okay.
I mean, sounds to me
Yeah.
like maybe that's would be the most beneficial thing at the moment. You just haven't been able to practice. So
Okay.
if that seems good to you. And Joanne, if you need to go, that we understand, that's okay.
Yeah, I think I will. I need to move my body physically. I need to get out of this for an hour and a quarter. Sitting, you know, stiffens it. So I think it would be helpful to
Okay.
Sure.
move into a different position. But I will be back next week, one way or another.
Well, we hope you're better.
This way. Thank you. I hope so too.
Feel
All
better.
right.
Okay, take care.